Hello, my lovely friends. My name is Ava, and here are my favorite alien and monster romances from 2024. These are not books that released specifically in 2024, but these are the books that I read in 2024 that are monster and aliens that were my favorite. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Avery. I love alien and monster romances, so I decided to make a whole entire dedicated video for monster and alien romances. If you want my general favorite 15 of the year, spanning all different types of romance genres, I already have that video up. You can go check it out. But today we're going to be focusing on 10 alien and monster romances I really enjoyed this year. There's no particular order to these, by the way. I'm not going to rank them. That is too hard for me. It's like picking your favorite kid. I'm not doing that. So these are just 10 in no particular order. The first one that I have is Serpents of Sky and Flame by Rebecca F. Kenny. I really got into Rebecca F. Kenny's books this year, and I think this one might be my favorite one. At the beginning of the story, our hero is not a man. He is a dragon. He doesn't shift nothing. He's a dragon. He is a dragon. The dragons are at war with the humans in this specific land, and the queen of the land has hired this mage to cast a spell to kill all female dragons. So while they're at war, all the female dragons start falling to the earth and they're dead. The hero is the king of all of his dragon people, and he's so mad, so he decides to kidnap any human women he can find off the street. He kidnaps the queen's daughter, the princess, and she is fighting tooth and nail to get out of his grasp. He won't let her go. And so mating season is soon, and he needs to mate. It only happens like once every 25 years or something like that. He's never had a mating season, so he's decided he's gonna hire or force a mage of his own to change these women into dragons so we can mate with them, right? And then the mage that they hired actually tricks them and turns them into dragon shifter men instead. So yeah, at the beginning of this book, he is a dragon. The heroine and him do stuff while he's a dragon. So I feel like the ratings on this one aren't as high as I want them to be, because I think people just thought this was a dragon shifter fantasy romance, but the dragon shifting doesn't happen till halfway through or later. And so they do stuff when he's a giant dragon man. And I know that can creep people out if you are not a seasoned monster romance person. But I found it very hot. It was really fun. So I like this one. Please be aware, there is a cliffhanger in this book, and then book number 2, I'm going to be reading it very soon, picks up where that one leaves off apparently. I absolutely loved the newest book in the Ristiverse series by Ruby Dixon, When She's Common. Her thick chunky serial ones that she writes this thick, When She Belongs was one of them. That's my favorite Ruby book. What she does is, if she's writing a thicker book in the Ristiverse series, which is one of her alien romance series that takes place on a planet called Ristor 3, which is mainly a farming planet filled with human refugees, and there are other aliens on there as well, but it is home to human women refugees mainly. Anyway, that was a side note, but the thick books that she writes start out actually as a serial on her Facebook group. So she writes a chapter a day when she decides she wants to write one of these books. So she just writes a chapter a day for a long time until the book is over, and then she compiles it up and puts them in a book form. And yeah, I don't read it as a serial on her Facebook page because I'm so impatient. I just want to read the whole thing, so I wait until the whole book is out. So this one is so funny. Okay, so our heroine lives on Ristor 3. And she's feeling really lonely, so one of her friends recommends, maybe you should get a pet or something. She's like, you know what? I kind of want a cat. And so she talks to one of the alien men on the planet and is like, hey, can you hook me up with a cat? She's waited months for this cat, and he shows up at her doorstep in this ginormous crate, 8 feet tall crate. And she's like, why is this little cat in this crate? And she puts her hand in to pet it or whatever. She's like, oh my gosh, this cat is so soft. Out from the crate, someone says, why are you petting me? It's the hero. The hero is a Praxian alien, which is a humanoid alien guy who has fur kind of like a cat. Praxians have been in other books by Ruby as well. So this alien species is not new to us, but he is one of the rulers of the Praxian people, and he's actually in hiding right now. And this alien man that the heroine asked to find her a cat really messed things up. She just wanted a tiny little cat. She did not want to have to take care of this giant baby of a man. He has this prince who's very spoiled, and he kind of expects her to wait on him hand and foot, and she's like, little do you know, I'm not doing any of that. So this one is so freaking funny. I loved it so much. I also need to mention, I mentioned it in my favorites of the year video, but Whispers of the Deep and then Song of the Abyss are 2 of my favorite monster romances of the year. These are mermaid romances that are a little darker in nature, I kind of want to say. The heroine on this one is a repair person in this underwater city dome that these books take place in. Humans can't live above water because it's dangerous to live there, so they've created these underwater city domes to live in, and mermaids are very hateful towards humans because they ruined part of their land, the ocean, in making these cities. So the heroine is fixing a crack in the glass one day, and the hero ends up seeing her and is like, oh my gosh, let me take advantage of this. Tries to kill her, and then ends up kidnapping her and bringing her to an underwater cave to get information out of her, to torture her, to get stuff out of her, to try and take down the human species, but then they end up falling in love instead. And then Song of the Abyss is actually about the villain in book number 1 and him getting his romance with the daughter to one of the dome city's rulers, and he's gonna kidnap her and use her as leverage to get this guy to do what he wants. However, he is shocked when like he swims through the pipes to get into her room, and she's like, yeah, take me please, I don't want to be here. So yeah, they end up falling for each other. Like, he is grumpy, she is sunshine. There's great disability representation. The heroine is hard of hearing. The hero, his arm was actually chopped off in the last book, so he is now having to deal with only having one arm now. Those are definitely like my favorites. Like, I freaking love those. A thick boy that I read is A Soul to Heal by Opal Rain. I do want to continue on with the series so badly. They're so good, but they're so big. Like, it's so intimidating to me. So intimidating. I wish they were on audio. I only think the audiobook is out for number 1, and I love that one. Love that one so much. But in this world, you have humans, you have demons, and then you have Duskwalkers, which our hero here is a Duskwalker. Our heroine's obviously a human. And demons are these beings who are able to get stronger when they consume humans. Okay, so humans are very fearful for demons. Anyway, the heroine lives in this city, in this town. She finds out that her husband has been cheating on her, and I think she actually kills her husband as a result from this, and the townsfolk are like, no, you're getting shot, you're getting kicked out. They end up throwing her off of a cliff, and she actually lands on top of our hero, who's at the bottom of that cliff. His name is nameless. He has no name. He finds this woman who's landed on top of him, like literally on the verge of death, and he decides to help save her life, even though she doesn't really care anymore. She doesn't care whether or not she lives or dies. So it is trigger warning in here for thoughts of death, thoughts of suicide, self-harm, so please be aware of that before going in. Protect yourself, okay? This one does get a little darker in nature, and there's a surprise aspect in here, so I will leave you at that. But this one is a good book. It deals a lot with mental health and depression. A really cute but hot one that I read with Tiffany over at Tiff Talks Pages. We actually started our alien and monster romance book club in 2024, so that was so incredibly fun. We're going to be continuing on in 2025, so stay tuned. But one of our picks was The Orc and the Innkeeper by Cora Crane, and this one was so cute. The heroine runs this inn where monsters and humans can both stay, and she finds out that these like termite pixies in the walls, and she needs a lot of money to get them out of the walls. So she finds out that her childhood bully, who's this orc, is actually in need of a fiance, a fake fiance, to impress a guy he's trying to collaborate with his business. And so she's like, okay, I'll pretend to be your fiance if you give me the money to get rid of these termites, because I know you're loaded. You're absolutely loaded. So that's what they do. They be fake fiancés while this guy is around them. And they end up actually falling for each other, but this guy did used to be her bully in high school. So that was an interesting dynamic, but this one was really cute but hot. I love like the small town inn aspects. It kind of reminded me of Stars Hollow in a way, but there's monsters involved. I have Alien Protector's Mate by Melissa Emerald. If you're wanting something that gives you IPB vibes, but it's not the same, like maybe pick these up. It reminds me of IPB in the fact that it's a bunch of alien men who know nothing about women. And they end up finding their fated mate. Classically, like Ice Planet Barbarians, human women have been kidnapped from Earth by evil aliens, and the ship crash lands on this primitive planet. That is the planet that our heroes in this series are on, and they actually have wings. I loved that aspect as well. And each book is about one of these alien men finding their fated mate with one of the women who has crashed on the planet. And that's all there is really to it. It kind of does give me IPB, but in a jungle instead. Probably my favorite alien romance of the year is Ruling Siand by Victoria Abilene. This one is so good. It's the latest book out in the Clickanian series. It's on a planet called Clickania. There are different areas of land on the planet, obviously, and each book kind of takes place in a different area we haven't seen before. So the human woman in this book has been taken by the hero and his people in his kingdom, and she's kind of forced to marry our hero. who is the king of the land, and this land is really cool. So I love alien romances with like their technological advancements and all that jazz, but there's something about like the primitive barbarian-esque ones that I just like I love more. So in this area of land that the hero rules, there's no technology whatsoever because their land's kind of on this mountain in like the middle of nowhere, and they ride these alien dragon creatures around, right, to get around places, and the frequency that technology gives off like scrambles the alien dragon's brains. So they're like, okay, no technology at all. So I love that part in here. But yeah, you have an obsessed, giant, tattooed, tailed, stoic king falling for this tiny little human woman. Like, I loved it so much. Like, give me Sick Thand. I want him so bad. I want him. I read Stitches by Violet Taylor. This one is a Nightmare Before Christmas retelling, and it was so good. It's a dark romance. Please be aware of that before going in. The book really like thrusts you in with like how dark it is. The heroine wakes up and she has been just mutilated. If you know what Sally's like in The Night Before Christmas, she's basically a bunch of limbs being stitched together. So you basically, the heroine wakes up at the beginning of this book having like her body parts taken off of her and stitched all together by this grotesque creature. She ends up escaping and finding Jack, who is the skeleton king. And when she meets him, he's actually in his like human form. You can kind of like see on the cover, that's what he looks like. But he has his monster form. And when he shifts into his monster form, who's like 20 feet tall and huge and has a giant purple tongue and has like flames coming out of him, like, man, it's hot. There's a size difference in here. Like, this book is really dark though, so know that before going in. And lastly, I have Charming Your Dad by Sarah Blue. I just recently read this one, and this one was great. Our heroine is a witch, and she finds out that her boyfriend has been cheating on her. She's like, oh, heck no. And then she kind of makes a plan to hook up with his dad because his dad is in town. Little does she know, though, that his dad is a very old and powerful demon. They quickly realize that they're both like magical creatures when they first meet. However, she's like, why is your son a human though? Like, what is going on? It's ex's dad romance, and it is great. It is grand. I loved this one. Like, his demon aspect in here comes into play sometimes as well. It was delicious. This book was delicious. Anyways, there you have it. Those were my favorite monster and alien romances that I read in 2024. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books, or if you plan to. I would love to know. If you don't feel like commenting anything else, you can leave me a monster or alien emoji in the comment section down below. But anyways, thank y'all so much for watching. I will see y'all soon in my next one. Bye y'all.